What's going on, nation? AJ Reilly here with a guest host, Eric Vincent. You know him from the Newsdesk. He is guest hosting Beyond the Box with me this week. And Eric, you may not be that familiar with Beyond the Box yet. You will be after tonight for sure. But this is strictly a football show. We're talking pigskin, man. We're talking anything college related. Could eventually be fantasy related, NFL related, but we are just talking football. You've made your debut on the news desk and have been killing it for us there, and we are so glad to have you along, and I am excited to just have you here tonight talking football, man. I'm so glad.
Man, I'm very happy to be here, man. Everybody's been super cool welcoming me over here at DSN. Even with yourself, you were up here offering tech support before we got the show started. So, got my mic. We all in a good space. We ready to rock.
We're ready to rock, and we are ready to talk NFL. We're going to start in the NFL. Before we get there, though, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of our Detroit Sports Nation content. You can head over to DetroitSportsNation.com for the latest breaking news and follow us on all of the social channels to get all your content. If you want fresh, new Detroit sports content, you get it from Detroit Sports Nation. Now, we're going to talk about somebody that's got a new home, Eric. We're going to talk about Baker Mayfield.
Whew.
Baker Mayfield, the unfortunate casualty of the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes in this last offseason, has a new home, and he's headed to the Carolina Panthers. He was traded for a compensatory pick in 2024. Now,
basically nothing.
Right.
That's basically it's a bologna sandwich pretty much.
Yeah, basically they said, we will take him and you just give us this. And truthfully, it's very interesting to me because there was a lot of rumors about potentially Seattle being a fit for Baker, rumors of him at all but being a done deal. Even a few weeks ago, their team store had made Baker Mayfield Seattle Seahawks jerseys and had put it online and leaked and all this mess. But he's not a Seattle Seahawk. He is heading to the Carolina Panthers, where he's going to be with DJ Moore. He's going to be with Christian McCaffrey. Do you think this is a good fit for Baker?
Honestly, no, it's really not. And to me, this was the biggest problem I had with this whole separation for Baker. Like, I understand why Cleveland kicked the tires on Deshaun Watson. Based on what happened and how things were playing out, I understand the rally that people went through to go get him. But for Baker, no matter where he went, it was never going to be a situation that was better than what he had in Cleveland. Cleveland had a foundation set for him. They had a top 5 offensive line, a top running game. You had Odell in his prime, granted his injuries, but you had good help around him, and he couldn't make it work. Like people were giving him credit for going on his streak of playing without O. To me, that's not a good thing. Yeah, you can't mesh with your most talented player.
Hold on a second, though. You said he didn't make it work. He took a team that was 0-16. They infamously joined the Lions to the playoffs and a playoff win, if I'm not mistaken.
That's cool. But quarterbacks do that all the time.
But not here in Detroit. They definitely don't do it here in Detroit. They don't.
But again, what you said is perfect, because if that were to happen, it would be significant in Detroit. Him doing that is significant in Cleveland, not the NFL. Quarterbacks win playoff games and wash out all the time. So, I'm not sitting up here doing jumping jacks for Baker. But then again, to me, nobody looks good in this situation, because if I'm the Panthers, you could have made that trade at the draft. You traded him for a bologna sandwich where you could have got him ingratiated with the team and closer earlier in the offseason. You're waiting to do it now when teams are getting rolling. It don't really make sense. And then, to me, the Browns don't really look good. Obviously, with guaranteeing Deshaun Watson as much money as he got, which messed up the whole scale of quarterback free agency. We're going to see that very soon play out bad. I just don't think this looks good for any of them. They all look – again, the deal had to get done, but it doesn't look like it's a high five for anybody involved.
So I think it is a high five for Carolina, though. Yeah, your point is good in the sense that they could have done it earlier, but I guarantee you the price was higher earlier. I guarantee that the price was higher until all this Deshaun Watson stuff shook out, and Baker basically was like, I'm done in Cleveland. Like, you're either going to pay me, but I won't play. I will not play for you again. He basically tied their hands. They had to get rid of him at some point. And so for Carolina, considering what they had last year, that's definitely an upgrade. Definitely something. Baker Mayfield is a definite upgrade over Sam.
But look at who we're talking about, though. It's Sam Darnold. Like, I've seen these compared. Like, think about the teams that needed quarterback help. Like teams like Miami that we were comparing to where Baker could have went. Atlanta, like Denver before they got Russell Wilson. Like those those quarterbacks that were there or are there now are terrible. And those are the names that are being mentioned for Baker Mayfield. That's not a good sign.
No, but from a team aspect for the Carolina Panthers, it's better for them. So it did work out for them. That's all I'm saying is it's a situation where their team got better because they don't have Sam Darnold under center for them anymore. Regardless, listen, I understand it's okay. Would you rather have Baker Mayfield or the broom in the corner of the locker room quarterbacking for you? That's basically what the comparison is. But it worked out, and they gave up nothing for him. That's the thing. So you have Baker Mayfield, who can make plays with a very dynamic receiver in DJ Moore, with obviously, if he can stay healthy, one of the best running backs in the entire league in Christian McCaffrey, being able to help alleviate, I think, the pressure from Baker, because all he's got to do is get the ball in McCaffrey's hands.
You've seen
Any quarterback can complete those passes.
Yeah, the little swing check down passes.
Right.
But you seem to be a lot higher on Baker than I am. If Sam Darnold is the broom, then Baker Mayfield has to be the dustpan because he's led the league in picks. He's coming off an injury. And looking at what Carolina has, yes, I love Christian McCaffrey, but he also has, like you said, DJ Moore is a good player. But Robbie Anderson, if I'm not mistaken, is there too. And he was just on Instagram saying, I don't want that guy. Now you got to catch passes from him. They got a bad O-line. The defense, I think, is still retooling. It's just it's not really Baker's fault. If they are 2-15, it's not his fault. It's just it's not a great situation for anybody, I don't think.
So are you happy then that Brad Holmes stayed away from the Baker Mayfield?
I'm so happy you just said that. Every time I saw a tweet about, maybe he can compete with Jared Goff and maybe the Lions will take his moxie. No. Nah. Not interested. Thank you, Brad Holmes.
Listen, I'm not high on Baker Mayfield, and we're going to actually get to that when we get to our next segment of quarterback rankings.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk about the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now as it stands. But I don't think he's as bad as people make him out to be. I think, truthfully, he got a bad rap with the way that things ended with Odell. And you keep seeing that highlight of Odell running free and Baker checking down the ball. That's like the big thing that everybody goes back to. But like, it's really easy to sit back and analyze that film and go, oh, he missed him. Yeah, he might have missed him. But guess what? When he looked at that read, it wasn't there. So he came to the... So there's a lot of like intrinsic things that I think that we tend to forget when we analyze a quarterback. And you cannot analyze a quarterback off of one highlight.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
When you do, you end up with Johnny Manziel, who was basically just one highlight after the other for about a stretch of time. It won him a Heisman, but then he was nothing. So I think that it's a good fit for Carolina.
Based on...
I think that Baker can be successful in the sense that I think that he can do well given what he's surrounded with.
But to me, that's what I'm scared of, because what we just talked about is a much better talent he had around him in Cleveland, and he's taking a step back to go into a team that's basically retooling at this point and rebuilding in Carolina. So going to a team that has less help, I don't really see that being a benefit for him. Like to me, he's 2.5 from becoming Andy Dalton, where he's just bridging himself, trying to find his next opportunity, or maybe just place holding for a young QB. So it's going to be tough unless he just really elevates Carolina. I don't see it. I really don't.
But is there really, and if we step back and look at it from our perspective, is there really anything wrong with that? Like it came out a while, like Chase Daniel, the perpetual backup, has made like over $41 million in his career. Right? Hey, what is the problem with just finding a team that will take you to play?
Trust me, if I could be a backup quarterback and just hold a clipboard for the money they're making, please get me signed up. But I don't. So if one of his big things about him is his moxie and his competitive edge and all that. And it just, I don't know. I was kind of rubbed wrong with him. To me, I've never seen a player put up an Instagram goodbye post to the fans before you're even cut. Like, I've never seen that before. And to me, like, it's just, I don't.
But that's who Baker is.
And that's not necessarily a good thing to me. So
no, but that's like right on brand for Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
It's not surprising at all. But it was his way of saying, you have basically leave it to the Cleveland Browns to shun the first franchise quarterback that they've actually had success with.
Yeah, they say the same thing about Caldwell with the Lions for getting him to the playoffs, but
and so I think that there's a situation that I think maybe it's an opportunity for him. This is definitely like for Baker going to be that moment where you can either elevate Carolina and prove your value, or be relegated to the realms of backup and potentially out of the league. But here's what I want to get to with this trade, which really wasn't a trade. It was more of a giveaway. It was brought up that maybe with the conclusion of the meetings with Deshaun Watson and the league and the Browns happening last week, that they go and make this deal that is, like I said, a giveaway. Do you think that it signals something about the type of suspension that Deshaun Watson is going to get?
It has to.
Do you think it does?
I think it could be, yeah. Honestly, for a second, I thought maybe they would keep him along, honestly. I know he didn't want to play, but he was at a position where he just needed a job, where he could put his talents on display. It has to be that. Deshaun settled, so it's not an admission of guilt, but it's basically sitting there acknowledging what he's trying to set up is his ability to be able to play, not this season, but next season. He's at least, to me, seeing at least 8 games, and I mean, it's real bad for him because the worst case scenario is he may never play football again. And that's legitimately on the table if this gets worse from here. So,
for sure,
I can see this being that case.
Sure. But what I'm saying is, does the fact that Cleveland basically gave Baker away, do you think indicates the type of suspension that Deshaun, do you think that maybe it indicates Deshaun's only going to get like half a season? Deshaun's only going to get 8 games. Like they know something. And so they just ship Baker off.
That's possible. It is possible. If it's that short, it's going to be a problem. But then the NFL's kind of set themselves up in this place anyway, where whatever they do give him is not going to be enough. Because if you suspend a guy like Calvin Ridley for a year for betting some $1,000 on a game he wasn't even playing in, but then you come like this for Deshaun, again, whether we think he's guilty or not, just the frame of how they're handling it is going to set them up in the lose. Basically, because like I said, you could have traded Baker a while ago. The fact that they're doing it now may lead to what you were saying. So it could be a possibility, yeah.
So my gut tells me, and I like to go with my gut tells me they're two completely independent things. I think the league is going to come down pretty hard on Deshaun.
Yeah.
And I think that the Browns, independent of whatever that decision is, where like we can pay Baker to not play for, or we can get something for him. Whether it is a bag of peanuts or we can at least get something. So I truly see these situations as completely independent. I think the Browns made a choice to get something of value. 5th round compensatory pick in 2024. But it is an extra draft pick. And we always talk about draft capital. 5th round, whatever. But who knows? So maybe the Browns are sitting there thinking, we can get something for him, let somebody else pay him. Baker can then be somebody else's problem in their eyes, regardless of what happens with Deshaun. And basically the Browns are essentially punting on the season. If Deshaun gets 8 games, great. We'll roll with Jacoby Brissett for 8 games and then let Deshaun come in, who would then have not played football in a year and a half. So who knows how that's going to work out. But then also basically set up, like you were saying, for the following year, assuming that Deshaun's even able to come back. So I don't know. Look, I'm glad I'm not a Browns fan. I am a Lions fan, but it's just one of those things that, like, man, it's weird. It's so
murky.
weird.
I'll give you credit, though. You did a good job. Because to me, like I said, I came in here saying that nobody looks good in the situation. But if that gives them their incentive of finally finding a way to get rid of him, because, again, you weren't going to get super high value, but to be able to get that out of your hair at this situation and clear him out of your locker room, then fine. Because, again, you weren't going to get some high value out of him. You weren't going to get a Matt Ryan type deal that he got with the Colts. It wasn't going to happen.
No. So let's move on. Let's go then. We've talked about 2 quarterbacks that would not make this list that we're getting ready to put out.
You sure? I mean,
I don't want to speak for you, but I know that neither of them would make my top 5 list. But we want to start doing these position rankings. Top 5. This is especially when we're talking about 32 teams. These top 5 guys are like that top tier. They're like the elite, I would call them. So what we're going to do, Eric, is we're going to go from the bottom up. We're going to discuss our guys, any banter that needs to happen, and we will rank who we think the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL are right now going into 2022. So, Eric, who's your 5th spot?
My 5th spot might surprise you. My number 5 is the reigning MVP, Aaron Rodgers. I'll put him at number 5. I feel like he had a great regular season. He's definitely taken the necessary backlash for how he performed in the postseason. But I think based on where Green Bay is right now, I'm not very high on what he could do and what that offense can do. I think the division's getting a little bit better in the NFC North. They lost a lot of their defensive, or not defensive, offense. He lost Devontae Adams, the receiving core, arguably the best receiver in the game. The O-line's getting a little bit older, and they keep getting hurt a lot too. So I don't like him. Again, he's still elite in that top 5 core, but I wouldn't put him at, even with the MVP honors, I wouldn't put him at number 1 or 2 or 3 right now.
I don't even have him in my top 5.
Ooh, that's hot. I like that. Okay.
He would be an honorable mention on this list.
Okay.
Me.
And I thought I was being okay. All right. I thought I was being wild with my take at 5. Okay.
And I'm not trying to be biased, like Lions hate or anything, but listen, like Aaron Rodgers is a great regular season quarterback. But he's been to 3 straight NFC championships and can't win. He's also been to 1 Super Bowl. So
12 years ago.
Like we're talking about right, precisely. Yeah, he's a great fantasy quarterback. He's a great like regular season quarterback, but I'm not putting him on my top 5. You know who I have slotted?
Please tell me who you have at 5.
Joe Burrow.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And when I make these rankings, when I'm talking about these rankings, I'm looking at what I have seen from these guys. I'm looking at analyzing the quarterback position, having been a former quarterback, not at that level, clearly, but understand the position a little bit. And I'm looking at different things that maybe might not come across on a stat sheet. And Burrow's got it. He's got that it factor. And I'll just let you in a little bit. I'm a little bit bitter at Joe Burrow. My man, I had to play the same fantasy matchup 2 weeks in a row. And guess which 2 weeks those were?
Oh.
The week that he threw for 600 yards.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
And so I ended up in second place in my fantasy league because I had to face Joe Burrow. But listen, young kid. This was essentially his first year in the league because last year he had the ACL tear and all that. But he came out, was surrounded by weapons, and he distributes the ball to a lot of different receivers. Yes, he has Jamar Chase. Yes, he has T. Higgins. He's got, I forget who his tight end is, but I'm telling you, he is, I'd say top 5. He's number 5 for me.
Now, for me, that would be my honorable mention because I feel like people are jumping way too early on Joe Burrow. Now, I'm not saying he wasn't fantastic last year. He was amazing. But he's coming off his rookie season where he was just hurt. Now, to me, I can't give you top 5 honors off of just one great year. Maybe if he won the Super Bowl, I would reconsider. If he played better, maybe I would reconsider. But I think people are jumping way too early.
He played better.
I think they're jumping way too early.
He was on his back the entire time. That ain't.
Yeah. I'm not blaming him. Though you can absolutely be outside the top 5.
I mean, he had them
because of.
He had them in that game.
Sure, you could be, but you could also not be top 5 based on circumstance. So, yes, I love that they added some beef to the offensive line, but I just think it's too soon. Again, he's fantastic, but it's too many other guys. The guys I have in front of him, they've done it more consistent, and I can't give it to him right now at this point. But he's not far. He's not far. He's right in that 6, 7, 8 range for me.
He's done it in the playoffs. He won the AFC Championship, which Aaron Rodgers has not been able to do the last 3 years, and has only done one time previously.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he threw a touchdown in that game either. He's not like he's just like lighting it up every single time he's going out there. So again, I'm not holding the quarterback wins against him. I think sometimes it can be a little inflated. If that was the case, we put Jimmy G top 10. So again, he's not far. I like what I see, especially given the circumstances. Playing with a bad line, you're a young quarterback, young team in general. So I love like his confidence, his leadership, and his talent. He's got a great arm. It's just I can't give him top 5 yet. Not yet. He's right there.
Who you got at 4?
Number 4, I have a guy I'm not a fan of, but I got to give him his due. It's Tom Brady. Tom Brady's still top 5. He's still an elite performer. And I think based in the division that he's playing in, we just talked about Carolina and how bad they're going to be. I think the rest of that division is just a dumpster fire. For whatever reason, Brady just gets the benefit of just playing in horrible divisions every time, no matter where he goes. So here we go again. I mean, coming off a 5,000-yard season, 43 touchdowns, 12 picks. Their O-line is still top-notch. I don't think losing Antonio Brown is going to be a problem, or Gronk. I still think he'll be able to make it work with the guys he has. So I still got Brady top 5.
I have Brady top 5 too, just not at 4.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm terrified.
So at 4, I have our old pal, Matt Stafford.
Okay.
Matt Stafford this year put the league on notice of what we have all seen in Detroit for the 12 years prior to last year. Now, there are some fans that were not big on Stafford. Yep. There were some fans that did not think that he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league because he couldn't win with the best wide receiver of all time.
You got receipts on y'all. We know who you are.
Guess what? Yeah, guess what? Quarterback wins do not matter. At all. We're talking about a guy who has one of, if not the most elite arm in the NFL. Can drop dimes like it's nobody's business and is tough as nails. When you talk about a leader and somebody that you build a franchise around, you are looking for somebody like Matthew Stafford. We wasted his 12 years here in Detroit. And our 2 playoff appearances were built specifically on him and what he was able to do with the offense. Because we didn't give him any support in the run game, for sure. He didn't have a 100-yard rusher for, 2-3 years straight until Reggie Bush got here?
He just barely...
From 2012 to 2014,
he just barely cracked over 1,000 yards.
We didn't have a single 100-yard rusher in a game.
And
So Stafford, to me, put the league on notice. That dime that he dropped to Cooper Kupp in the NFC Championship game to set up that game-winning. Who else is making
I want to say that was
now he's erratic, right? He's a gunslinger. He's a Brett Favre where a few passes before that dime should have been an interception. I understand that, but you got to also take the good with the bad with Matthew Stafford. This guy is one of the best. It is very difficult to win a Super Bowl. It is extremely difficult to win a Super Bowl on a team that you have just been traded to. Yes, you have a great defense, but they weren't the best defense. He also did not have a great offensive line and, again, had no running game to speak. And Cooper Kupp was a solid receiver before Matthew Stafford got there, but he was not the best receiver he wasn't a Triple Crown winning receiver.
Yep, people could.
So I have Stafford.
He knocked that argument out. We're saying that for the longest time, it was Megatron that made him. Well, he also just made Cooper Kupp, who you just said was a good receiver, now a Triple Crown all-time great performing receiver. So, the bomb to Kupp against the Bucs, where they literally tried giving the game away, and he saved them. It was either that throw or the no-looker he had in the Super Bowl. Phenomenal. He's top 5 with no question.
Phenomenal. So at 3, since you've already mentioned him, I'll go ahead and throw mine out there. I have Tom Brady at 3.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. That's not bad at all.
I have Tom Brady at 3 for many of the same reasons that you mentioned. It's just you cannot make a top 5 list with Tom Brady in the league and not have him included in it. The amount of Super Bowls that he's went to, the amount of Super Bowls that he has won, the fact that the guy is a billion years old and yet still can sling the rock with the best of them, he is top tier.
Without question. I have our 3 and 4 are just flip-flop because I have Stafford at
okay.
Again, you basically hit everything I was going to say. I mean, he's proven everything. Every misconception about him was answered with the Rams. And again, to do it in your first season and being that team to take him over the edge, and they still have the resources to keep it going. Yeah, Stafford's top 3, and I'm silent on that.
We are going to get so much hate from the Detroit fan base, but you know what?
Come on, guys.
Because it's Stafford, and he was always good. We just wasted him. Who do you got at 2?
I have a guy who's got a lot of pressure on him this season, Mr. Josh Allen. He put on an all-time great game, an AFC Championship game against The Chiefs
got hosed by the rules.
Played by the rules, and they changed that now because of that. But he's great. And again, their team is only getting better. I like that they added Von Miller, so he gets a little bit more security. Buffalo seemed to go all in. I like the contract that they gave him. Great mobile quarterback. To me, his mobility doesn't get enough credit, and I would like to honestly see them use that more in Buffalo part of this game. Yeah. But I think he's only going to get better. Buffalo is one of the Super Bowl favorites, and he's a big reason why. So, yeah, I like Allen it too.
So I got to see Allen a couple of times last season, and every time I watched him, I thought, he's my number 2 too, by the way. He's also my number 2. And so when I would watch him, I go, man, I don't get to see enough of him. The Bills, because he plays in the AFC, I just like being in the Detroit market, we don't get enough of those games. He's so good.
He's a bad boy.
He can change the game with his feet. He can change the game with his arm. And he is he's a terrible golfer. I don't know if you caught
I did catch that, yes.
But he is he's not a great golfer. But we don't need him to play golf. That's not equating into this ranking system. But he is number 2 because he is one of those guys that is exciting to watch. And when his team has the ball, you have to tune in to watch. They got hosed. They got hosed in that AFC championship game because had they gotten the ball, they would have been in the Super Bowl instead of the Chiefs.
I have a hard time disagreeing with that. He's huge too. What, 6'6", about 240, I think. He's a big dude. Very quick. I had the benefit of having Stephon Diggs on my fantasy team the first year he went to Buffalo, because to me that was going to be the biggest challenge. Okay, they're giving you this help, and they took full advantage and made him a top 5 receiver. I love what Josh Allen has upside wise in the NFL.
I have a feeling that our top 2 are the same.
Yeah,
because Allen was the same, and number 1 is
2, 3. Pat Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. That's okay. It's hard to say that he's not probably the best quarterback.
I ain't gonna lie. When you hyped up the Tom Brady thing, I thought you were gonna put him at 1. That's where I really thought you was gonna go. Okay, good. Glad we're on the same page.
No, come on. You got to give me. I know it's the first time we've done a show together, but you got to give me a little bit.
The Baker support freaked me out a little bit. I had to sit on edge for a second. I was a little nervous. It's cool though.
It's okay.
No, it's okay, man.
Baker's not on my list. He's not in my top 5. He's not even in my top 10. He's not even in my top 15. Yes. Okay, not even in the top 15. But Jared Goff is also not in the top 15 for me. Jared Goff is also not in the top 20 for me. So, like, I'm not insane. I was just parsing the argument.
It's fair enough. It's okay. But no, we definitely agree on Mahomes. Even with Tyreek Hill going out, his numbers weren't even bad last year without Tyreek. So
that I hesitated though. I almost flip-flopped on him too, because going into 2022, the Tyreek Hill situation is a little bit concerning. Now Mahomes can make plays, and sometimes I think he tries to get a little too flashy, right, with the no looks and the crazy. He's not the fleetest of foot quarterback either. He can scramble a little bit, but he's not a Josh Allen. He's not going to make massive plays with his foot, but he does have really good pocket presence and escapability. I'm just curious to see if he can maintain the level that he has dominated without the fastest receiver in the league, who's able to take the top off the defense and create. It's not just about throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill. It's about the amount of people that have to be committed to Tyreek Hill so that then Travis Kelce comes open, so that then the other 2 and 3 receivers come open, and there's holes in that defense because of what Tyreek Hill was able to do.
And he loses a big part of what makes him so dangerous. I think they signed Valdez-Scantling, who's a good deep threat, but he's obviously not Tyreek. You bring in Juju, who I like, but he's a possession guy. And then Travis Kelce, the same thing. Like, he's very athletic. He's big for a tight end, a little fast, but these are possession guys. So having that element taken away from him could make a difference, but I still like them in that division. Even though it's going to be tough, I still think you have to give him his respect as a top quarterback in the game.
AFC West is going to be a bloodbath.
Oh my gosh. Throwing Russell in that pot. Oh my goodness.
Just think about it, right? You got Derek Carr-led Raiders. You got Justin Herbert-led Chargers. You've got Pat Mahomes-led Chiefs. And you've got, who am I forgetting? Russ-led Denver.
Yep.
So it's crazy. It's going to be crazy.
Yep.
That division.
They got players that ain't going away for a while. They just brought in
And you could have a situation where you have 4 best records in football, and one of them sitting home during
Exactly.
the playoffs.
It's unbelievable the talent they got in that division. It's gonna be fun to watch for sure.
Because the Chargers have made, I think, the most moves with Mac and bringing all those guys in to shore up their defense, and then you got Devontae Adams with Derek Carr now, and you've got Russ in Denver, who was basically, I don't want to say they were necessarily just a quarterback away, but
they definitely have more upside with it. Yeah,
he definitely. Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
Definitely sure that Jerry Jeudy and Sutton would rather have Russell than Drew Lock, who just went over to Seattle. So yeah, they should be very happy receivers right now.
For sure. So let's transition. Let's move from professional football to professional football light with NIL deals and all that kind of stuff. Now, college football. Okay, let's move to the NCAA and the big news that broke a week ago is USC and UCLA joining our Big Ten as early as 2024. Now, that will bring the Big Ten to 16 teams. And the rumor is that they're not done. So, 1, do you like this? And 2, what kind of impact do you think that it is?
I like it a little bit. Again, I like a little bit of the expansion. I didn't love the new other teams that they added. I didn't love the Nebraska and the Rutgers edition, but I like these, and Maryland as well, yeah. But I like LA and USC. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were both, top, 50 in their recruiting class last time I checked. They definitely add a little bit of competition. I still think the elite at the top with Ohio State, maybe Michigan at the top, Iowa. I still think they will reign over those kind of LA and USC, but I definitely think it shakes it up and makes it a little interesting. Definitely going to make recruiting a little bit bigger, and then to see what they do with the deal that they're trying to find anyway with the $1 billion media rights deal that they're trying to land. I think it's a big opportunity for them, but let's see what they do.
It's excuse me. It's a shift in college football for sure. When you have West Coast teams wanting to join up with Midwest teams to be in a conference together, and I use that term loosely, right? Because conferences made sense when travel was relegated to trains and buses, but that is no longer the case when teams have planes that they charter out there, and players are being served meals on the planes, and the whole 9 yards. That location doesn't necessarily matter in that sense. I like the bigger conference. I think that it's going to force the NCAA Power 5 specifically to form bigger conferences and create better competition. Because here's what ends up happening, right? Now that USC and UCLA have opened up to the Big Ten, you have just opened the floodgates for the talent that is in California for your recruiting. It's a great deal for teams like Michigan and Ohio State. It's a great deal for USC and UCLA to get out of the Pac-12 and get into the Big Ten, where they're going to be seen on more prime time. No more Pac-12 at dark, because nobody's staying up to watch those games, right? It's a great opportunity for both of those schools to create an impact, and I think that in the long run, you're going to see a lot more of this kind of stuff happening. Like, what happens to the remainder of the Pac-12?
Apparently, yeah.
You also have Texas and Oklahoma who have left for the SEC. So now you have these two mega conferences, if you want to call them that, even though it's really not mega when you have teams like Rutgers and Maryland in there. But you can see the shifting happening with the way in which college football's 100%. Landscape will be laid out. And
it is.
It's exciting. I think it's exciting. I think it's going to be a great thing.
That pipeline of prospects, like you said, California, it's as big as the Texas pipeline, Florida. Yeah, California is just as big.
Florida. Those are the 3 hotbeds, right? California, Texas, and Florida.
Exactly.
And Ohio
you get to have those meetings with them.
Right? Those are your recruiting pipelines. That it is now open up the door for that. What's going to be interesting is if the Big Ten then wants to expand to 18 teams. Who else are they going to bring in?
Yeah, that's going to be tough. I was just looking over that. apparently someone else, yeah, they just said out of the Pac-12, they might not be finished releasing teams. So it's very possible. It's not just one; it could be multiple again. So, this deal is huge for this landscape to be shifting the way it is. But yeah, what's that?
Here's what I would love to see. If you're going to add 2 more teams, you add Stanford.
Okay.
And you add Notre Dame.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Explain that. Go ahead.
Okay. So Notre Dame is adjacent, right? And so with the way the ACC's schedule is set up, Notre Dame has got to play a certain amount of those teams per year, whatever. We now have their largest rival in our conference and their second largest rival in Michigan in our conference. So you bring in a team like Notre Dame because of the history, the tradition, the natural rivals that are already there. And you tell them, listen, affiliate, because the ACC is not going to want you. And if you continue to stick with the ACC, you can almost give them, as our friend, I was talking with another one of our creators, Dylan Bear, who's been a host of different shows and co-hosted some other ones. And he was talking about, you basically give them the ultimatum. If you want to play your rival, you join our conference. But then I think Stanford is a natural fit academically, 1, right? 2, they've had traditional, decent football program on the level of a UCLA. And they're a California team. So you bring those California teams in and you make it an 18-team conference.
It's not bad at all. I like that. Especially Notre Dame, I feel like it should have happened years ago at this point. But Stanford, I really like, especially like you said, academically, it just makes sense. And they're obviously a powerhouse in itself with the tradition and the success that they've had. Yeah, it would make sense. Again, if you don't want to bring in, obviously, no weaker teams out of the conference. So if you can bring in, obviously, one that has history with the Notre Dame, which would make the most sense, and then another powerhouse along with it, just makes the Big Ten that much stronger with the rich getting richer. So, yeah, I like that. I like that play. That would work.
Another team floated out there was Oregon, but apparently there's bad blood between Oregon and USC, so they don't want Oregon to follow them to the Big Ten.
They would just kept to their own. Okay.
I don't know. Who knows? Sometimes it's like we never left high school and the drama just continues.
See, we think we grow up, but
right? No, we don't. And truthfully, here's the deal. It's going to be interesting. In 2024, as early as 2024, I should say, UCLA and USC are going to be joining the Big Ten. There could be other teams that are joining them as well, and it's going to be different. It's going to be interesting, and I think it's something to definitely look forward to. Eric, I want to tell you,
my pleasure,
thanks for
man.
joining me tonight, man. Thank you for co-hosting the show. Thanks for giving me your top 5 quarterbacks, even if you think Aaron Rodgers is still
honorable mention. I love it. I love it.
I don't know.
MVP. Thank you, man.
I appreciate it. For Eric Vincent, you can find him on socials at I am Eric Vincent. I am AJ Reilly. This has been Beyond the Box, and I will see you next week for more football talk.
I'ma get it, you know I be on the way. Yeah.